Welcome back to Society Case Files. My name is Robert, and today we're going to be talking about all of these warbands. If you like this kind of content and you want to see more, please subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell. But other than that, let's dive right in. These are all of the current Warhammer Underworlds warbands that are available with rules that you could just go out and get pretty much today. This includes the 4 boxes like this that have 4 warbands in each. It includes Embergard, and it also includes the Grandfather's Gardeners and the Jaws of Itzl over here. Ultimately, I want to say that as far as a beginner set, any of these are awesome. Yes, you do kind of need Embergard to get started. It has the board, it has a bunch of cards, and it does have your dice. Everything that you pretty much need to get started with the game is in this box over here. But after that, if you want more warbands, if you just want to play it in a different way, these are all very reasonably priced. For example, these characters here are very expensive if you buy them separately on like eBay or something. I think I saw them for like $60 when I first started looking because I really wanted one of these characters, the one with the owl here. And this box here is $100 from Games Workshop, but it's only $85 if you get it on Amazon. So you're getting each of these for between like $20 and $25. And one of these sets over here, the Itzl and the Nurgle guys, are $44 a piece. So for just under half the price of one of these, you only get one set. This is pretty much 16 warbands that were either popular or recently put out, so you can still get them. Now, there are rule sets available for other ones available on the site that you can download and use. Unfortunately, Xandir's Truth Seekers are not on that list right yet. I do have that warband as well, but that came in my Stormbringers box. It didn't come in any of this. So you do have the capacity to get your hands on other ones, of course. They're out there still. But until they have updated the rules and made it easy and possible for you to play them, it's probably not worth as much to run out and buy one unless you want to try and do some kind of homebrew thing. Now, on top of these, they also released 2 additional Rivals decks, which I do have, and then all the cards that are in Embergard. But getting back to the idea that this is a good place to start if you're a beginner, well, first off, one warband is very few characters. The Jaws of Itzl is only 3 lizards and a mask that you'd have to paint and build. And the Nurgle guys is, 5 models? And the price is so much better. Just to play the game, you buy one of these for $44 and you're in. Compared to if you want to get into the Sisters of Battle that I play, just a Battle Sister line of 10 models is $53 on Amazon and $60+ on Games Workshop. So, frankly, these are a great way to start and see if you enjoy building the models, if you enjoy painting the models, if you enjoy moving them around on the board, any of that stuff. Yes, it is a different experience than playing true 40K or true Age of Sigmar or whatever, but you still do get a good feel of what it's like. And if you watch a couple battle reports, you'll know right away if you want to play this particular game or not. But even just for collecting some models, some of these models look amazing. I love way over there. I've got the Slaanesh characters. They look great. The vampires are awesome. They're the red ones over here. We've got the Buccaneer guy with his stab monkey and a bunch of other models over here. All around, I don't know. These just look great. And while, yes, they're monopose and they're pushed together, again, very easy to do. I am going to give the difficulty rating for each of these, and I have a few models that I wanted to call out, which will be part of this video. I filmed it separately on the build desk and discuss a few of them about some of the challenges that I had while building them, because I didn't film every single one of these. I did film the Jaws and the Nurgle, and they're both going to be on the site on YouTube soon if they're not already. and then you'll be able to see how they were done. But since I did end up building just north of 80 models in a day and a half to get this done, I did not film them all. I was kind of busting my butt. However, like I said, there were a few that I kept in mind and pulled to the side so that I could address some of the challenges in case you have questions or run into any issues. And of course, if there is any problem that you run into while building any of these models, I have done them all recently enough that I should be able to answer questions. So if you do have any concerns or you run into some trouble, feel free to leave a comment and I'll do my best to see what I can do for you and offer some advice. Interestingly enough, I actually have another group of the Sylvaneth Warband here that came in the Stormbringer set. And I suspect another one may be in there as well. I think it might be the Lumineth guys here might also be in there. They gave you quite a few warbands. I know that one of them, I think it's the Chaos guys, also came in it. So I've got quite a few duplicated groups. So there's a chance that I might be able to help. I did build the vampires twice because they came in the Court of Blood box that I've got over here. So we do have a lot of models. They're all awesome. And let me get into talking about those models that were a little bit sketchy. And then I'm going to go through, I've got each of the models on the display, and I'll bring them up and talk about their complexity as well at the very end. But I just wanted to have them all spread out here for you to see because it's just crazy. This took a long time to build. And while I did say it was only a day and a half, that was a good part of my day and a half. I mean, I could do each one in about 20 to 25 minutes, but then you got to kind of take a break because even push together models, you take some thought and some time. And some of these are spindly, like these characters up here were easy to break if you press too hard. And in actuality, one of them was broken, which you're going to find out about in a moment. And the Sylvaneth were spindly. The Pandaemonium down here, these characters were pretty delicate. And then there's some that aren't delicate at all, like the Buccaneer here. While he did have a whole lot of pieces, he's really quite a hefty piece of plastic, so it was pretty easy to get him manipulated and into place. And then you look around down here, and you got some Chaos guys and some Orcs over there, and they're just massive, and you probably wouldn't be able to break them very easily. But then in the same exact set, we've got characters like these little Gravelord dudes that are just very tiny, and I almost broke a couple of them. Now, I should also remind you that if you do break one, it's very unlikely that it is a catastrophe because you could just glue it back together. That's the whole point. So I've broken off arms, I've broken off legs, I put them back on, and it's very hard to tell that anything happened, especially once they get painted up. So don't be too afraid of it, but just take your time and be patient. But other than that, I think that's all that we're going to say with the big board out. I've got some cool little shots of them all. And then once we get through talking about the specific models that I had trouble with, we'll look at each one of the groups and then we'll be done. Okay, I just wanted to take a quick minute to discuss some of the more challenging models because most of them are very easy. But this one in particular, I think deserves some special attention because it is quite delicate and you don't want to push too hard. So this is where it kind of pays to use glue, even though they are pushed together and they say you don't need glue. I would use it just because you can make the pegs go in easier. Sometimes they're really stiff and it's hard to get them to set. And if you use glue, then you can get them in much simpler. And then on delicate models like this, when they slide right in, it's safer and you won't break them. Like this little neck here is very delicate. And I almost broke the head. I almost broke the staff. It's just all around a very delicate model. And now that it's all glued and solid and set, it's nice, but I would just take care with this one in particular. The challenge with this particular model was just the placement of his pieces. So be patient with this one. It's not super complicated and you can definitely overthink it, but just you can see that part of him you build from the outside over here and then part on this side goes through there and you got the wheel itself. So just take your time with the little Skaven guy and you won't have any real trouble with him. The only problem with these models was figuring out which part went to which, because to be perfectly honest, they looked a little bit too similar to me on the sprue. Now that they're built, of course, they look unique, they're awesome, they're cool, but pay attention to the numbers and just take your time. I got a little impatient by the time I got to these guys, and it caused me a little bit of frustration, but providing that you take your time, you should be able to figure out which part goes to which, and it won't be a big deal. Now, of course, this guy is at least the most different because you don't have to worry about the bow getting in the way. But whatever, that was the trouble with them. This character was actually fine, except for when I cut them off the sprue, this part here stayed on the sprue. So it was broken before I even started working on it. I glued it back on, and it's pretty darn secure now. I am confident that it will stay that way, and if not, I guess I can always glue it again. Other than that, this model was not that challenging, but keep that in mind that this may be very delicate, so when you're handling it, take care so you don't snap it. Everything else on this was pretty reasonable. This little guy, the way you get that head on, for me, it was very confusing. He's not like crazy hard, but I had to basically dry fit assemble the whole thing to understand how this head worked. Even with the picture, it didn't help. I'm kind of turning him around so you can get different angles of him, so that if you're trying to build this model, you can at least see what it should look like when you're done. But I don't know. You probably won't have any real trouble, but getting that head in there the way they tell you to was weird. So keep that in mind when you work on the Flesh Eater Court. The final model that I want to talk about is the Buccaneer guy here. He was kind of a challenge in a lot of ways because he's just got so many darn parts. And his didn't go together as well as I would like in some places. Like, there's still a crack right there that I might even put some green goo in to fill in. I don't know what happened there. I thought he was fully together when I did it, but, you know, upon closer inspection, I'm seeing that. He had a lot of parts, and some of them were confusing. Like, this bag was a little bit confusing to get it in contact. And again, it didn't even make contact there. And I made sure to do it. So I think he kind of slipped after I put him away to let him dry. He's a really cool model, and the rest of his team is the absolute simplest thing you'll ever do. But him, he had all the parts, and as a result, it was definitely something to pay attention to. I'm not entirely sure what I'll do. Like I said, maybe some green goo to fill in this gap here and fix it. But otherwise, that's it.
All right, let's start with the Chaos Warbands, Despoilers, and Demons. This has Ephilim's Pandaemonium, which is Zenich, Khagra's Ravagers, which are Chaos or Slaves to Darkness, Gorechosen of Dromm, Khorne, and the Dread Pageant, Slaanesh. Starting with the Ephilim's Pageant, you can see them here on the display. These guys were very easy. They're going to be at a very low difficulty, which you'll see at the end and in the description. The smaller guys were particularly simple to put together, but the trick, of course, was the fact that they are such strange little mutant dudes. They're hard to sort of discern exactly what goes where. They're not like a humanoid type character where you could very easily see from the piece which direction it goes. I mean, these hands could be going in any direction they want. So just keep that in mind as you start to work with them. But all around, I've already talked about the difficulties of the tall one there. Anyway, let's move on. Moving on to Khagra's Ravagers. These were one of the easier sets to build all around because, as you can see, they're humanoid. You could tell what part goes where without even having to put them together. My guy on the right there did need to be pinched harder, it seems, and that's something to keep in mind. I don't really have this problem with models that aren't pushed together, but sometimes it's very difficult to get enough pressure in there to bring them fully together. So keep that in mind and be mindful of things like that little staff because it can be delicate. But all around, I think that this is a pretty good beginner set to start with. And, I mean, they kind of just look straight cool, too. Here we have the Gorechosen of Dromm, another very easy set, especially since you only have 3 characters. Something to keep in mind as you get started is less is better, because this is a lot less work to jump right in, do some painting, do a build. You're playing really, really fast with these characters. And they actually look really awesome in my opinion. I really love the dude in the back there who's just massive with all of his skulls and stuff. But all around, a great starter set right here. Moving on to the Slaanesh set, the Dread Pageant. This was one of my favorites, or at least this one I wanted the most because I actually have a whole lot of Slaanesh stuff already. So it's really neat to finally get a Warband. This set is very easy for the most part. The big demon dude was a little bit challenging to figure out where all of his stuff went, but for the most part, this set is just awesome. I was a little sad that there were more of the Hedonites than demons. Like, I was kind of hoping for some kind of special demonette or something along those lines. But you know what? I'm going to take what Slaanesh I can get. And these guys all look really awesome, especially on the box painted. I was pretty impressed. And of course, that character who's being all sassy with the staff on their shoulders is particularly nice. So all around, I would give this one a very easy rating, and you'll see that at the very end. But yeah, great set. All right, let's move on to the Death Warbands. These are the Revenants of the Realm. We've got Kainan's Reapers, which are Osiarch Bone Reapers. The Grymwatch, Flesh Eater Courts. The Crimson Court, Soulblight Grave Lords and Vampires, yay. And the Headsman's Curse, Night Haunts. All right, let's start with Kainan's Reapers here. These are the Osiarch Bone Reaper guys, which are just freaking awesome. If you love skeletons, if you love like old Harryhausen movies, then this is the band for you. They just look awesome. They were super fun to build. There's quite a few of them too. You get what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 characters? That's not too bad. And that big guy was just super fun to put together, and all around much easier. Although you can see some seams here and there, most of those would disappear once you started painting. All around, I give them a big thumbs up, and the difficulty is pretty darn low. So very friendly, very cool looking beginner set right here. Next up, we have the Grymwatch, which are Flesh Eater Courts characters. I've already talked about the challenge of this one, but for the most part, the rest are pretty darn easy. All around, this set was something that I really wanted, and before I understood what these boxes were, I went shopping for them, and they're actually quite expensive on the secondary market, like eBay and stuff. If you wanted to pick these up, they were almost the cost of the entire box of 4, because I guess they just haven't caught up to realize that they just don't have that value now, that you can get them in another way. But in any event, the Flesh Eater Corp guys, pretty nasty. I mean, there's a guy eating a hand. All around, though, a pretty fun set and plenty of figures to jump in if you wanted a few more to start with. Beginner friendly, and you get the added bonus to gross people out. Next up, we have the Crimson Court. These are the vampires. They were super awesome. The only real challenge here is that some of them have pieces that you've got to fit up inside of other pieces, and that can be a challenge. And all that hair on the other character is pretty intense to work with. But all around, very, very simple. These came in a Warcry box, the Courts of Blood, which is how I got my first set. And then, of course, the second set came from this box. And I was absolutely thrilled to build them again. They're just super fun. And, of course, vampires. I'm the biggest vampire fanboy on the planet. Makes perfect sense that I would love to have 3 or 4 sets of these. No, I'm not quite that out of control. But anyway, definitely a good set to give a try to and start out with. Next up, we have the Headsman's Curse. These are the Night Haunt characters. If you've ever built a Night Haunt character, then you kind of know what you're getting into here. These are just the pushed-together versions, which, to be perfectly honest, I find makes them a little bit more challenging because, again, you just got to pinch so darn hard, and ghost characters tend to have pieces that are very fragile, so that's a pain. But you can't deny that these models just look absolutely awesome. I love the dude with the big sword. The scribe one is awesome. The dude carrying around the anvil is cool. They're not challenging per se, but I'd still not necessarily call them a rank beginner model set, but awesome to look at no matter what. Moving on to the Destruction Warbands, Brutes and Bandits, we've got Grinkrak's Looncourt, Gloomspite Gits, Morgok's Krushas, Ironjaws, the Kunnin Krew, Oryx, and Blackpowder's Buccaneers, Ogre Maw Tribes, complete with Stab Monkey. The Looncourt here was pretty darn easy all around because they're very small and for the most part they're straightforward. The guy with the slingshot there on the left right now, that one actually I had some trouble figuring out where things went just because that is a very strange pose when the guy's staring up and I was like, there's no way he's doing that for real, is he? Well, yes, he is. So anyway, if they are doing something that seems odd, they just might be. See if you can find a reference photo or something like that. I was too lazy to grab the box, and so that's the only reason it gave me a challenge. All around, I think this is a great beginner set. You get a lot of really cool looking models. And if you love the goblins, especially just how insane they all look, then I think you'd have a good time building this one and painting them. They're just super fun all around. Next up are Morgok's Krushas, just 3 big ass orc dudes that are ready to just do exactly what they say, crush stuff and trash things. It's kind of funny. They come green because most of their armor and stuff is painted yellow on the boxes and stuff. But, orcs, if you even look at Blood Bowl, the orcs come out green. I'm not talking about the build so much because these guys are real easy. Very big pieces, very obvious where they go. All around, probably one of the best beginner sets of all the things that are available in the boxes that I'm presenting today. This set was super fun, super easy, and quite honestly, it was so fast, I barely even remember doing them. Next up is the Kunnin Krew. These are Oryx, and they're all around pretty darn simple. The guy with the birdcage provided a little bit of trouble, and by birdcage, I mean the guy with the weird thing on his head. I know it's not really a birdcage, but come on. These characters are pretty awesome. Very much more villain characters in the setting, as far as I can tell, than the orc counterparts in the 40k universe. All the flowy stuff, the chains, and that kind of stuff really provides some more dynamics to paint, and I think that's really cool. Plus, their weapons just look nasty. So, all around, a very easy build for the most part. Plus, you get enough models to feel like you've really done something, and they're going to be a really good time to paint and make them your own. We're going to start with the Blackpowder Buccaneers. These characters are just freaking awesome. The ogre is the hardest part. As you can see, I'm going to probably have to use some green stuff to fill in some gaps there. I did manage to, after this video, pinch him together a little bit more with some glue, but my goodness, was he a pain in the butt. Just because he has so much density, really squeezing him like that really is, it's actually kind of painful because he has a lot of pokey bits. Other than that, this is an awesome set. You got the little animals there. You've got the stab monkey. You got the bird. The stab monkey I got to go back to because, I mean, it's a stab monkey. Hello. Couple gets. All around, very awesome set. And if not for having to pinch that ogre, I would put this at the absolute lowest level of difficulty by far, just because those characters are all very easy to put together. All right, it's time for the Order Warbands, Heroes and Hunters. In this set, we have Hexbane Hunters. They're with the cities of Sigmar. Myari's Purifiers. They're the Lumineth. Thundrik's Profiteers. Khagra Overlords. Ylthari's Guardians, the Sylvaneth. Starting off with the Hexbane Hunters, you'll notice the 2 pooches right there, front and center. Those are very simple models, just 2 pieces that come together and then you put them on a base. So just because of them, this set is a very easy set to start with. The crossbow model there does have some challenge just because of how you've got to get the top onto the actual weapon itself. But a little bit of patience will make that happen. It is the push together aspect that makes it a little bit more challenging because when you're getting it in there and trying to push in the peg at the same time, that's where you get some of the difficulty. But all around, they look great. They're super fun, and they'd make a good addition to the cities of Sigmar as well. All around, I recommend them. Moving on to the Lumineth, you don't really get models that look cooler than this. These are some of my favorites. Before I knew what you got in these boxes, including all the cards and stuff, I was looking to just get this Warband to complete the set. And like the Flesh Eater Court characters, they were pretty darn expensive. I guess it was the owl. Owls up the price of everything, I guess. Anyway, the only challenge I've already talked about was the fact that the staff came broken, and they are very spindly and very delicate models when you're putting them together. So be very cautious when you're shoving them into place. Otherwise, I think you can't really go wrong. They just look amazing. Next up, we've got Thundrik's Profiteers. If you like really beefy models, if you love dwarves, then you can't go wrong here. Plus, we've got some firearms and some hefty backpacks. Kind of look like they could be in 40K, to be honest. That guy in the back with the big apparatus that I think makes him fly, super fun to build. Not necessarily super easy because it was weird finding where everything went. But once he came together, as you can see, he's just a really awesome looking model. So all around, I wouldn't feel bad telling someone to start with these guys. I think they'd have a good time. And plus, they're going to be a lot of fun to paint. Lots of metallics and that sort of thing, since they're all encased in armor. But yeah, super fun set. Finally, last but not least, we have the Sylvaneth. And who hates spindly, crazy-looking, angry trees? I don't. These are, much like the Lumineth, very spindly, and you want to take care because they can break very easily. So because they're pushed together, and occasionally you got to really squeeze, you just have to be cautious about not snapping pieces off. These also come in the Stormbringer's subscription box. So if you bought this box and you also happen to have that, you may have some extras. So if you break something or you just want to have more, you have them. Anyway, the Sylvaneth are awesome in general, so I would always recommend them just because, I mean, look at them. Moving on to the Embergard sets, we're going to talk about the Skaven first. Because they're part of the starter set, I think that in general, they're probably a lot easier to build than most things, although that could be just my impression. I found them to be very quick and easy, especially these guys. The hardest one is the Wheel Rat, just because you've got to work inside that very small section there. But other than that, I mean, this is a very straightforward set, and they all look freaking awesome, especially the little dude with the little claws right there. I kind of love him. I don't know exactly what he's doing. I think anyway, whatever he's up to, it's gross. So yeah, there's the Skaven. Next up, we're going to talk about the Stormcast Eternal part of the Embergard set. Just 3 models. The only challenge I already talked about, how they pretty much look the same on the sprues. Gave me some difficulty there. But other than that, this is as straightforward as it gets. And much like some of the others I've already talked about, since you only have 3, it's a very low commitment to jump in. Of course, since you're getting this as part of the starter set, you also have the rats to contend with, and it does give you some versatility. But if you were sharing this with someone else and someone was going to do some painting and they didn't really want to commit to quite as much as the rats give you, then I'd say this is a pretty good set to go with. All around, they look awesome, and you can't go wrong with Stormcast Eternals anyway. Moving along, these are the new Warbands that came out after Embergard, so brand new models all around. And these are the Jaws of Itzl, so they're Seraphon characters, and much like the ones that I just talked about, a very straightforward set of models to build. You only have 3 real ones. That mask is like 2 pieces, and you just cram it into a base and you're done. So the primary focus is putting together these lizards. And I do have a video on that goes into depth with each of them. And then you can see that there is a little bit of challenge here because you got to get some pieces up inside other pieces. Standard push to fit nonsense. But all around, these guys are awesome. The final warband here is the Grandfather's Gardeners, Nurgle. So basically, if you've been looking at all the models I've talked about so far and thought, these are just not gross enough, well, they've got you covered because these guys are freaking nasty. Just look at that guy with the stuff coming out of his stomach. I mean, hello, just ew. Very simple model set to build for the most part. I actually found them a little easier than the Jaws of Itzl. I do have a video building all of them out with their difficulty as well. But because I was doing every single warband, I had to throw them in too. And there you go. You get a chance to see them again one last time. All right, that's it. I have now talked about every current warband that has rules and cards and everything else in this video. The difficulties for the builds will be included in the description because that just seems like a whole lot of information to have to pause on the screen. That way you can just look and see which one's which. Other than that, all around, tons of fun to be had with the Warhammer Underworld stuff, and all beginner friendly. Very easy to find one that you like and build something small and paint a manageable project. So I would say that Underworlds is probably the best gateway into this, or maybe the worst, because it will find a way to sap a lot of money and be a financial burden. So like a cat that you don't have to feed. Anyway, hope that you enjoyed the video. And if you have any thoughts, if you want to see something different, leave a comment and I'll see what I can do. Thanks.